Good afternoon. I hereby call this agenda review meeting of Nacogdoches ISD Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that a quorum is present and notice of this meeting was posted as required by Texas Open Meeting Act. Reverend James Irvin and Mr. James Montoya are not in attendance today. Today, all the items on the agenda are for discussions only. No voting will take place at this meeting. Thank you for joining us, and ask to turn your cell phones to the silent mode, please. At this time, we are in a portion of public comment, and we have not received any requests to address the board. However, anyone would like to comment in the future meetings, instructions on how to sign up are on the meeting notice. We move to consent agenda. This portion of meeting, we will discuss items from the consent agenda. No action will take place on these items. Starting with the board meetings minutes. Board, we have any comments? If not, we move to business office report, and presenter would be Mrs. Lisa Barbrick, Chief Financial Officer.
Good afternoon, President Naramon, board members, and Dr. Trujillo. So I'd like to begin with our budget amendments. And a budget, I believe it's on page 19. Budget Amendment A is to increase Head Start revenues, and those expenses would go towards pre-K expenses, which includes playground equipment, and we're only paying a portion of these funds out of our general fund. The rest of the playground equipment is coming from ESSER funds. Item B, budget funds received for athletic facility use and its associated expenses. So we've received a little over $4,600, and the expenses that go with those. Item C, budget funds from investment earnings to cover additional funds needed for special education vehicle purchase. So I gave them $32,000 to buy a vehicle, and they searched and searched, and unfortunately not anything found was that low, so I'm giving them an additional $4,000. So that's still a good buy, 36,000. All right. D, budget donations for drill team uniforms. So they received $1,500 for uniforms. Item E, move funds for classroom supplies and professional development at the request of BQJ. Any questions on those budget amendments? No? All right. Next, I'd like to move on to our donations under $2,500. And you'll find that on page 25. We received gently used jackets from Tony, and hopefully I'll say this right, Kubakak, that was for social workers. And the drill team received $1,500 from NIPCO for uniforms. Any questions on the donations? All right, next I'd like to move on to our investment report. You'll find that on page 27. This past month, we earned $219,163.65 between all funds. Any questions on our investments?
No, ma'am. Board?
And now I take any other questions you have on the other business reports that I've submitted.
Board have any questions?
Those coats that were given, did they go to all over the district, or did they go to a specific school?
They went to the social workers for them to give out as
Okay,
needed.
that's good. So they go with the greatest need.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Now we go to item C, on purchase over $25,000, and is Imagine Learning Incorporated. Dr. Kimberly Welsh, Assistant Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, President Nuremon and Board of Trustees and Dr. Trillo. The Imagine Learning software program offers a range of benefits for students, particularly in language and literacy development. For the last 3 years, we've used this program with newcomer students in all grade levels to accelerate their English language acquisition. The Imagine Learning Espanol provides research-based, personalized learning experiences, focusing on Spanish language proficiency and foundational reading skills. We use Imagine Espanol as our Spanish literacy intervention program upon request by dual language teachers in the early grades. Both Imagine Language and Literacy and Imagine Espanol offer a comprehensive, engaging, and culturally responsive approach to language and literacy development, making them valuable tools in educational settings. Their focus on personalization, cultural relevance, and research-based practices supports diverse student needs and learning styles. Both products are utilized at all campuses as Tier 2 intervention instructional support. Our recommendation is that the board approve the purchase of Imagine Learning in the amount of $54,600 to support the English language development and Spanish literacy development of emergent bilingual students in grade levels K through 12.
Any question, board?
Is this for 1 year, or how long does this last? Is it reusable?
Every year, we,
I think
come
we
back
use
to-
it, I think we up it every year.
Yeah.
I think it's per year, and we've used it for the last 3 years. Yes, sir.
So it's an online program,
Yes, sir.
not books, okay.
Any more questions? Thank you. Next item is CDWG. I guess presenter would be Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, President Fashid and Board, Mr. Martin's unavailable to be here, but this item here is a yearly quote we look at CDWG, and it deals with the administration. We're proposing the renewal of the yearly contract with regards to Microsoft software and licenses, with the budget impact of $74,647.28 to the general fund.
Okay. Board, any questions? If not, we move to the next item D, in consideration of placement of Texas Historical Commission marker at Nettie Marshall campus parking lot. Again, Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, sir. This is a pretty exciting recognition. It was submitted to the state level. It's a consideration of placement from the Texas Historical Commission. It's a marker that will be placed at Nettie Marshall campus parking lot. Regarding the request from Morris K. Jackson, Dr. Morris K. Jackson, Chairman of the Nacogdoches County Historical Commission, to place this historical marker on the campus of Nettie Marshall, specifically in the parking lot area across the street from the campus. That's the area that has the significance with regards to the historical items. The marker is a tribute to July 1836, the arrival of 335 United States infantry and cavalry officers and soldiers under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Williams Whistler. These troops were stationed at Nacogdoches to protect Nacogdoches citizens from Indian raids. This location was chosen as it had the view of the downtown area, and they maintained peace in the area throughout that year, December of 1836. So we're seeking approval to request the placement of this historical item at that location.
Okay.
Any other questions that you might have?
Leah, did you want to say anything? Okay, if you don't, I do.
go ahead.
Well, Morris Jackson is a physician. He's actually a radiologist. I don't know if he's retired, but he's the historical part of our city is really becoming active and trying to point out history. And what was really interesting to me, I know some history, but I knew nothing about this. And I think if I don't know, there's a lot of other people that don't know. And there was a really good paper that went along with this, and I read it. And so I think this is a wonderful thing we're doing to support the historicity of Nacogdoches and support those who are doing that labor. And I think the spot where it's going to be is going to be really good, regardless of what happens with Nettie Marshall School. It will be good for tourists to stop by there in that parking lot area to read about the history and that very interesting, all the stuff that led up to it and led away from it. This basically was to keep Indians and other people out of Nacogdoches, and this was U.S. Army. Pretty interesting stuff.
President Rashid and Board, I want to make sure we clarify something. There is nothing happening to Nettie. When we mention, regardless of what happens to Nettie, there's absolutely nothing happening at Nettie, so please do not call me. That was a statement that was given by our board member just now. So Nettie's fine. It's fine. This is the parking lot that's across the street from that campus, so.
Okay. I have a question. The expenses are in NISD, is it, Charles?
No, all this is taken care of by the state of Texas, and you have a signage, what it looks like.
Yes.
What they're looking at placement. So I imagine there'll be a conversation. We'll have it with Ralph and find out what strategically, because it's that area that's there. There's not one specific area. That whole region of that area is where the soldiers were stationed during this time, and they just want to recognize that place. Optimize the location. We will see what will work best when that selection is made.
Very good.
It still needs to be functional, in other words. So,
Okay. Next, item E is a second reading of revised local policy CH purchasing accusations. Dr. Trujillo?
yes, sir. The current policy, this is local policy CH. The current policy states any single budgeted purchase of goods or services that cost $25,000 or more shall require board approval before the transaction may take place. If you recall, last month we made an adjustment. This is the second reading. The revision in this policy will modify the threshold to any single budgeted purchase of goods or services that exceed $50,000 or more shall require board approval before the transaction may take place. And so I'll entertain any questions the board may have with regards to this policy change.
I think we have discussed that in the past, but, so, if there's no question, we'll go forward. Okay, Dr. Trujillo, since you're at it, consideration of NISD's stadium bleacher project.
We're on a roll. I'm going to ask Mr. Johnson to step up to the microphone just in case there are some questions that do arise. I anticipate some questions. The proposal is for Specialty Supply Installation, LCC. Recommendation letter in sketch is provided. On November 21st, 2023, the district received proposals for the addition of an end-zone bleacher at NHS Dragon Stadium. The intent of the addition is to be able to have a dedicated location for the band and the drill team to free up existing space in the stadium and seating. The scope presented represents a new aluminum bleacher system that will accommodate approximately 400 to seat with the required ADA space and access. The bleachers will also be placed on the south end zone and will also be coordinated with addition to a fixed field goal net. Breakdown of seating is about 75 for the drill team, 250 for the band, and 75 alumni or flex seating for those in attendance. Based on the review of the bid and the discussion from NISD and proposed construction staff, the project is recommended to proceed as follows. The proposal was received from Specialty Supply and Installation, which is the bleachers, and the nets of Texas as barrier netting under the by-board procurement program. The total cost for this includes the following items, which is the new bleacher structure at $346,218 and a design fee of about $15,500. And these funds would be coming from ESSER funds that we have. It's a great addition to our athletic complex. The owner allowance of $15,000, the total project cost would be $376,718. And once again, this is kind of finishing off, not quite, but finishing off some of the ESSER allocations. Ms. Barbrick, is that true, coming out of ESSER, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And Mr. Johnson can entertain any questions. He's been working pretty closely with our athletic director and Mr. Weems, our band director. So Coach Fashid, any questions that the board may have? I've asked Mr. Johnson to be here.
I think it's a great idea. Simply, they're isolated. They have access to both restrooms on both sides and both concession stands. And both concession stands, I believe one of them is with ag and one of them is a band. Maybe they have switch, make both sides with band. Because we're going to have, most of the school go in that direction anyways. They isolate their band and their cheerleaders drill teams. So I think that's a great idea.
We're anticipating standing room only in our growing and developing football program. And right now, we have 2 areas that are blocked off, correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you speak to that a little bit? We have it one on the east side, one on the west side of the bleachers, and our band can flex either way, and this puts them in a strategic location, so.
Yes, sir. So right now, the bleacher structure is in the south zone of the end zone. Mr. Weems and Coach House both were at the meeting to get that plan finalized. The structure will allow for flexibility for seating. It also includes growth, so it can seat up to 400 individuals. So when our band increases, as it has been doing, we've already calculated for that as well.
Would that restrict going from one side of the field to the opposite side? Is it, or it still has a, in other words, if you sit in the home side and you want to go on a visiting side, you have to still go the same direction?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So there is an access road.
Yes, sir. There. Yes, sir.
Very good.
I have a question new to the district person. This facility I know is used in the fall for football games where we're talking about with the band and the drill team. But I'm also sure this facility is used year-round for lots of other sports and events. Does this bleacher affect any of those? Like how does this?
It doesn't affect any of those sports, those activities. The location of the bleachers can be used for a student section, perhaps in soccer games. It's multiple uses for it. It doesn't distract from the game or anything like that. So we considered all the options.
I think that probably helped to take a senior pictures too.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
I just think that this is a wonderful thing to happen, to enlarge the capacity of our stadium, to separate all of our people from the visitor stands. It's better for the visitors and it's better for us. So there's a safety factor. But another critical factor is it increases the area we have for disabled people so that they can feel, I can come and sit in the new bleachers and I can be a part. So I think this is a win-win, win-win, win-win-win. And so I appreciate all the people that are making this happen because we're planning for our future and this is part of our future.
Yes, sir.
I think we should give a gold star to whomever it was that came up with this very creative use of ESSER funds. To read what the specs are for using that funds and going, this helps with isolating people, and we can use federal funds on that. Brilliant, brilliant.
When we come up with ideas like this, it's always good to have a great finance person that can actually point us in the right directions.
It was not me.
No, but it's always.
You don't want the
it's-
gold star.
It's always good to have a finance, because you're not going to take the glory, but she will point us, even if we think the money can come from somewhere.
Yes.
Lisa's really good at, are you sure? Do we have money for that? But she's got a great team behind her, from our grant writer that's working with regards to all the ESSER funds that we've done. And I will tell you, Dr. Hill and Dr. Corley last year, when we coordinated with all of the departments, which included all of our directors, Coy, I look at Coy and I look at your former art director that was here with us. He gets to enjoy a lot of things that we're doing. So there's a lot of great folks that get to come up with the plans in designing it, and it's a collective conversation. So when Mr. Johnson says he's had a conversation with Mr. Weems and with the athletic director, we wanted to make sure, does it impact other programming? What does it do for the visibility where track and field is being used, or for soccer? And then also, I don't want to leave this individual out of it, but Ralph, he's never surprised. This was not on his radar, and all of a sudden, bleachers were being talked about. And I thank you, sir, for working with that, with the team, and getting it all set up. The beneficiaries are our kids. That's ultimately what it is. The beneficiaries are our kids. If we ever have to have a situation where we have to spread the kids out at the high school and put them in a central location, it gives us a nice spread. Safety reasons, Mr. Tarvin, we're also looking at opportunities that we may have to have a reunification site. We have the capacity to reunify our families. If we have an emergency situation, we have to place students, if the weather's nice, and we have them there, we have enough capacity to spread all of our students, no matter the size of the campus. So there's a lot of use that can come out of this projection. So thank you very much, Mr. Johnson, for the work that you've
Mr.
coordinated.
Johnson, excuse me, I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
These bleachers not going to hinder anything, access to those air-conditioned unit that facilitate for field house?
No, sir, it is not. I'm getting a agreement from Mr. LaRue. No, sir, it won't affect that.
Good. Thank you.
Yes, sir, thank y'all.
Okay, folks, we're going next. Item G, letter to the commitment to participate in the Region 5 ESC Food Service Co-op for the 2024-2025 school year. And again, Ms. Lisa Barbrick.
Good afternoon
Chief Financial
again.
Officer. She has the money, so she can manage.
This is our annual request to continue to participate in the Region 5 Food Service Cooperative. We have been a member since 2010-11, and Robin is very involved in this cooperative and in getting our bids, and she's done a great job in that and keeping us, as you know, keeping us, our food costs down as much as possible, and that's why her fund balance continues to grow when it shouldn't be, so she has to spend like crazy. But anyway, that's beyond this request, so.
Board, any question? Good, go rapidly. Next item H would be the high school course guide for 2024-2025. Dr. Hill, Assistant Superintendent.
Thank you, President Nerman, board members, and Superintendent Trujillo. Thanks for the opportunity to present the 24-25 school year high school course guide. I want to begin by thanking Mr. Autry, Ms. Bray, Ms. Van Valkenburg, who joined us today. I know Mr. Autry is joining via Zoom or via live back at the campus, but I just want to thank them for their hard work. Not only was this document of a magnitude, I mean, it's just huge, but they've put a lot of thought into it, and so I'm very, very grateful for them. So we not only have our course guide, but you'll also see on page 211 the proposal for 8 new courses that we would like to introduce. And so if I may, I'm just going to read the titles of them for the public. I won't read the descriptions, but we're looking at adding personal financial literacy, Computer Science 1, as well as Computer Science 2, Correctional Services, Practical and Information Technology, Medical Billing and Coding, Practical Manufacturing, and lastly, our Navy National Defense Cadet Corps. I think that's 4. I'm not good with my Roman numerals. See, I'm getting the okay from them. So we're very pleased with the way that program is going. So I'll entertain any questions or comments that you may have.
I just love it. I love how we keep adding things, and this is online, right?
It will be, yes, ma'am.
Access,
Yes,
so that
ma'am.
so that parents can see all that we offer their children.
Absolutely.
It's just fabulous.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
I second that for sure. We have to keep up with the rest of the world.
We're doing our best.
Now, I saw that there was a criminal justice course that's being added. Is that's something that could prepare them to be a jailer? In other words, they could graduate and do stuff like that?
I'm going to, if I may defer to Ms. Coy Van Valkenburg, our Director of College Career Military Readiness, to talk to us specifically about the CTE strand and perhaps the industry-based certification that might be tied to it.
With the criminal investigation course, so we're just looking at, as the TEA has proposed new courses to come out in the alignment for the program study, this is one that we've come to visit to say that it may, we've had some partnerships with like TDCJ who have come in and been very supportive in our career development events that we're having, and they're wanting to build that. So this course actually just gives us, there's not a direct certification for the jailer, but it does give them a little bit more exposure and give us, allow us to have that connection. We've had some other law courses, and so we have a little bit of flexibility. So we're trying to align of what best fits the needs of our community and our area for the workforce as far as that goes. So as we look at that, we currently have criminal investigations, and then this one will be that correctional services. That'll give them kind of a different look in that law.
I think
and that criminal justice program.
it does give them a broad look, and they can look in areas that in the past they never looked, and that's what we want. And so I think this is a fabulous thing. The whole thing, all these new courses, fabulous.
Thank you.
One course that's specifically listed there, the personal finance literacy, even though it's a TEA required course to be put in there, it's good to acknowledge the fact that they see that students are now graduating with career positions in industries. And because they're graduating, a lot of our students are going into jobs and professions that are probably making more than their parents did. And within a matter of years, they can be impacting their lives. And if they don't know how to manage their money, then, so this is a very exciting course for our high school students that are not only developing their skills, but also can provide for them for a lifetime. So it's exciting to see. Even though TEA is requiring it, it's something that it's very necessary for our students, so.
If I had any choice, I would make it mandatory for all students.
And we also, because we currently offered the financial math class, and that kind of plays on that too, that we have, most of our seniors do choose to take that course as well, that we've also offered. So we actually have both of those courses.
Good.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, item I is consideration of federally funded professional development, coaching, and consultations. Dr. Corley.
Good afternoon, President Nerman, board members, and Superintendent Trujillo. I'm presenting the updated vendor list for professional development services that may be purchased with federal funds. This is an update to previously approved vendors that we've had this year. If you want to reference the additions, is on page 215 of your board book. You'll see that we've added a column that has board date approval there, and the two that have met the acceptance criteria for request for proposal are listed under the December 19th date. And then we have two vendors that are pending SAM registration. So we come to you this afternoon to ask board approval for the updated vendor list for professional development services using federal grant funds that is a purchase over $50,000.
Folks, any question?
Can you, if I Google these, will I understand what they do? Does that make sense? Because it's a big heading, and I know we've talked about Solution Tree and some of these others, just like what category of services are they? I mean, it says professional development, coaching, and consultation, but that's like a really big heading.
And it is a broad spectrum of services, whether it's professional development or consulting. Of course, it includes our core academic content areas, but beyond that, it includes bilingual education, special education, and behavioral supports.
Okay.
For example, the Crisis Prevention Institute that's just been recently added. That's an annual service that we use that helps train our administrators and our interventionists on proper ways to help with behavior and restrain if that need ever arises.
Yeah, thank you. So Reverend Pickcock, I think what I might have heard you ask is how would you know the difference between which one is which? So if you'll let us work with the business office. This was helpful, just trying to figure out what's underneath it.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
But I think we
helpful.
could create an additional column just to put specifically if they're going to do PD or if they're going to do consultations for us. Does that make sense? That way it'll
Yeah.
clear it up a little bit for you.
Yeah, and
Well, that-
also because, it always freaks me out when it's just a name and not a corporation.
Right.
And so, I'd kind of like to know, are they consulting? Because I know some of these consult like with Solution
can-
Tree or something, don't they? Or haven't we used some of them in coordination with one of the other?
Local counselors, so I
don't
was
know.
just trying to.
That would be helpful.
We will do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's also, though, I want to put in here, it's also, should be very comforting to everyone involved to know that all of these have a criteria that they have to pass.
Oh, absolutely.
Before we say, join us, we'll pay you.
Good. Any questions? Thank you, Dr. Gurley. Okay, now we move to discussion and action agenda. We have 3 items for discussion and action portion of agenda today. First, reading the revised local policy DEC compensation and benefit. Presenter would be Mr. Harold Whitaker, Assistant Superintendent.
Thank you, President Neermon, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Trujillo. This is the first reading of revised local policy, DEC, compensation, benefits, leaves, and absences. If I can draw your attention to page 216 of your board book, is where you will find where it starts the update or the proposed revisions, and on page 220 of that board book, you will see the proposed additions to the line items on which TASB makes the recommendations for this revision. And if you also turn to page 221, you will see the more full extent of the additional addition of the proposed recommendation.
Board, do you have any questions? No questions? Can we put this on a consent agenda?
But this is first reading, so
Oh.
we have to do a second, don't we? It says first reading.
Okay.
Do we need we need a second reading, don't we?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
The second reading we will take care of next month.
Okay,
Can it be moved to consent?
that's what
Yeah,
I
it
asked.
can't be moved to consent
Oh, it
agenda
can?
because it's just reading it again for next month, so.
Oh, and then we
yes.
can consent it, yeah.
That was my question. Okay, next item
So
is,
is it be moved to consent? I didn't know, just to make sure that Howard's got it, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
next would be the item, would be first reading of TASB policy update 122 local policies presented again, Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, sir, this is update 122. The attachments are local policy overview, the explanatory notes, the local policy comparison packet that has the red line for your review, and the legal policy red line for your review as well. The Texas Association of School Boards Policy Update 122 includes revisions to the policies listed below. Although legal policies are included in the policy manual updates for TASB for your review, only the local policies are to be considered for approval to the board are the ones that we've addressed. Appropriate departments and staff have reviewed each one of the TASB revisions and agree with the changes. The changes that are taking place is in CQB local, technology resources, cybersecurity, CSA local, facility standards, safety and security, DC local, employment procedures, EHB local, curriculum design and special programs, EHBC local, special programs, compensatory services and extensive programs, EHBCA local, compensatory services and extensive programs, accelerated instruction, and FEA local, attendance, compulsory attendance, FFAC local, wellness and health services, medical treatment, FFB local, student welfare, crisis intervention, and FL local, student records. Once again, this is the first reading, and now entertain any questions the board may have.
Any questions? I
New
promise.
person, these are state level, you're saying these come from TASB? So we
That-
all,
Recommendations that TASB has, and we
Okay.
keep the language pretty consistent so that, and what's important to note here is each of the departments go in and review, does it align with what we are doing here in the district?
Okay.
The recommendations that TASB is providing. Yes,
and it
ma'am.
helps us like be consistent across the state for other
Absolutely,
public schools?
yes.
Great,
Okay.
thanks.
Any
Okay.
changes, especially any changes that legislation may wind up doing, we have to be in compliance pretty immediately, so.
Great, thank you.
Okay, board, can we put that on a consent agenda as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I could just present it.
Item C would be the consider approval of a bid for real property located at 1005 Leroy Street, Nacogdoches, Texas, 75961. Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, sir. The bid, this is for the property located at 1005 Leroy Street, Nacogdoches, Texas, 75961, otherwise known as the old Carpenter site. Real estate contract, newspaper ads, NISD local policy, CDB are all attachments that are in your board packet. The board approved a resolution for the sale of the real estate property at 1005 Leroy Street at the regular meeting in October 26, 2023. Per legal policy, CDB, NISD placed an ad in the Daily Sentinel advertising the sale and terms for submitting a bid with a due date of December 1st, 2023. A single bid was received from Mr. Warren Sparks by a commercial contract and Ed Poole, the realtor, in the amount of $175,000. The budget impact is a bid received at $175,000 and 6% realty fee of $10,500. So I'll entertain any questions that the board may have.
I'd like to move this to action agenda for more. All right. With this, the board will now conduct an executive closed session to discuss items posted on our agenda pursuant to the following provision of Texas Open Meeting Act and as allowed by Texas Government Code Section 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.129. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as the result of discussions in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes in open session. It's now time, on mine, is 12:37, and we should not be back before
1 o'clock.
Excellent.
Okay?
Seriously, it was.
The board is now reconvening into open session, and the time is 1:16. And is there any request for any future agenda?
I had something to say that I think is a real positive thing. I want to affirm and congratulate all my fellow board members for your hard work, not just on the board, but doing your continuing education, particularly all the new stuff that was kind of dropped on us this year. So we volunteer to do things for the benefit of the children, the teachers, and all the other staff. And when you're required 3 more classes in the last month of the year, that's quite a challenge. But I know we've not been tardy in doing anything before, and we will rise to the occasion and be successful in getting that done. Just to maybe make you feel better, I have to do trafficking twice. I have to do it as a doctor and as a board member.
Wow.
So, c'est la vie.
Okay, I seek a motion for...
I move that we adjourn. Let me help.
I second.
All in favor indicate saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Aye.
Another job well done.